Appreciate everybody being here at the SU Football Weekly with head coach Joe Austin. I'm Rob Pipp, your show host. Let's give it up for the Sheraton. Thank you, Sheraton, as always, every week for having us here. And again, just looking back briefly last week, Pirates coming off their first loss of the season, 27-0 at Texas Lutheran this past Saturday. Southwestern now 2-1 overall, 1-1, and even 500 in American Southwest Conference play. SQ Southwestern in this ball game, 6 turnovers. Landry Gilpin came in for an injured Coleman Kerr. Coach, we'll go over this one briefly. We don't want to dwell in the past too long, but a tough loss on the road versus Texas Lutheran this past Saturday. As I mentioned earlier, of course, 6 turnovers in this game. Just wanted to ask you, just out of the gate, the end zone, very hard to find. Kind of talk about that one, Coach.
It was a tough day. It was especially a tough day offensively. We put our defense in some tough positions with turnovers. And, largely they did a good job of holding them out, but eventually the dam kind of broke. And the 6 turnovers make it really difficult. The first touchdown was on a fumble that they ran back. And then we had, difficulties all day. It's really hard for any team when they get down to their third quarterback, particularly if it's a true freshman. But to say some things about that is Landry Gilpin came in and he really fought, and he did some good things. Our offense, was able to get some sporadic things. In the first quarters where we lost our opportunities. We crossed the 50-yard line 4 times in the first half. We ran 44 plays in the first half. We had the ball the whole time, but we found ways not to score. We really struggled throughout the game getting anything going in our passing game. We had wide open receivers in our first drive. We had David Brandenburg open over the middle for a possible touchdown. In our third drive somewhere in there, we had Anthony Stevens on a post route for a possible touchdown. In the second half, we had some more guys open, and we just struggled to find them. And we wore down over the game, and it was a difficult night. We're not used to that. And I mentioned to our team last week, you asked me any final thoughts. My final thought was, how would we respond if we had a tough game? And we found out that we didn't, I wouldn't say we responded terribly, but we could have definitely done better. And we're going to need to prepare better. I'm sure I have more questions. I want to spill all my beans, but we definitely need to do some things better in preparation, and we need to play better in some different areas.
Well, Landry Gilpin, of course, came in for an injured Coleman Kerr, your third-string quarterback. Talk a little bit about that play and how you prepare for that, because you go to your third quarterback. As you know, it's difficult to go that deep. Talk a little bit about that, Coach.
It's enormously hard, and Landry is very talented, and of course, in times you've seen Landry's talent. He's our leading rusher. Among our quarterbacks, he has the most physical talents as far as speed and arm strength, but he's very inexperienced, and he'd been a player that we were trying to bring along slowly, in that for this game he'd have a 6-8 play package. In this game he'd have an additional 6-8 plays, and then all of a sudden mid-second quarter it's Landry. You've seen these things on film and talked about in meetings. Now you got to go run them. And so he made some mistakes on some things he was really experienced on, but that is going to happen, and he was dumped into a really tough situation. But one thing I know about Landry, both from working with him but also from his Aptus Discovery results, maybe can I talk a minute about that?
Yeah, please.
So we work with a company called Aptus Discovery, who works with big Division I schools mostly, and they're branching out into some smaller schools. They're based in Austin. So it's an elective thing for our players to play, to have this assessment where we learn about how they learn. It's not a test, it's an objective thing. And so we have some of our players that do this, and Landry was part of the group that did it. So I have a really good idea about how Landry learns, and we've talked about this, we've met about it. And one of the things I know about Landry is he's off the charts in grit. And of course, grit means, are you going to stick with it when things get tough? So things are tough, and he dove in and he kept at it, and he made some mistakes, but he's going to be so much better every week he gets a chance to play. And he's just really, really talented. But it was a tough week for him, tough week for all of our quarterbacks. Coleman Kerr started the game and had some opportunities that I think he would be the first to admit he didn't capitalize on, and then of course he got banged up again. It's just because we're young, it's been difficult. And why are we young at quarterback, you ask? Well, let me answer your question you didn't ask. When you've got a 4-year starter like Fred Hover, it's difficult in recruiting to get guys to come in and say, I'm happy to sit for 3 years behind this guy, or I'm happy to sit for 2 years. So it's been our younger quarterbacks are very good, but they're less experienced because we had Fred Hover for so many years, and of course Brian Hicks before them. And so this is kind of the cycle we're into. And Fred's had some of the same growing pains when he was new. Brian Hicks, at this point in his freshman year, wasn't even sniffing the field. He was a typical freshman that was just worried about, what's going on behind the scenes and surviving. And he's in his third year playing professionally. So it's just all a process, and it's difficult that we're going through these things in such a public manner for Landry and these guys and for Coleman. But we're going to work through it. Our team is resilient. Our defense is going to show up every week, and our offense is going to give the best they can. I think we're going to be in good shape.
Coach, what'd you tell the team after the game?
We had a great talk. We talked about the things we talked about in practice and at the show, in that we'd been on a 6-1 streak and none of the games had been close. And we got a little bit complacent possibly in our approach. We certainly did not have a good week of practice. I talked about our week of practice, if you remember, last Thursday. Said it wasn't a great week. Hopefully it wasn't bad. Well, things got worse on Friday. It was one of the worst practices we've ever had offensively on Friday. All the mistakes we made on Saturday, we made in practice on Friday. So I told the team, I got to watch the game twice. I watched it on Friday in practice, then I watched us make the same mistakes on Saturday. So we're going to work on our process of practicing and being focused and diligent, but coming to the reality of we have to show up every week. And the more injuries we have, for our Wednesday practice, we're down 11 starters. So that's half the starters of the team did not practice. So hopefully a couple can play, but we're going to be without at least 8 of them for Saturday. We've got to be really diligent in what we do. We've got to be gritty. We've got to be physical and just be very intentional about how we prepare and how we go into the rest of the season.
Well, in any loss, trying to find a little bit of light in this loss, maybe some positive takeaways. Was there anything in the game? Time of possession, you led in that category. Maybe some other things in this ball game that you can take away on a positive light to carry into next week.
Well, I think our defense, held the water back as long as they could. We didn't finish the game tackling as well as we normally do, but we hustled to the ball. Why we didn't finish, maybe a combination of things, maybe a little bit of mental letdown, maybe a little bit of physical letdown, but our defense certainly held the dam closed as long as they could. With as many young players as we're playing on offense and defense, we ended the practice on Wednesday with 4 freshmen playing in our secondary. We had 0 returning players in our defensive secondary. Hopefully we'll get at least 1, maybe 2 back. Well, no, I'm sorry. We had 1. We had 1. We had 3 true freshmen in our secondary on Wednesday. Every week that those young guys get to play, they're going to get better. So if you're looking for a silver lining, is if they're inexperienced for our third game, if they're in that role, by the time we get to week 10, they're going to have developed and played a whole lot of football. And of course, those things benefit you long term. It doesn't make our seniors feel much better, right? Because they have this immediacy and this urgency in their final season to do well now, as do I. I can't stand not winning. I can't stand losing. But we're going to have to go through the process of training these new players and holding things together while they become veteran players and just get better and better throughout. So you're asking for a silver lining. It's that when you play young players, that experience definitely benefits you down the road.
Well, Coach, appreciate your time. We'll step aside as we bring on segment 2 as we interview some of our player guests. Stay with us, friends. This is SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin. We'll be right back after this. Well, friends, welcome back to SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin as we now interview senior defensive end Nick Smith. Nick, good to have you up here today, man.
Good to be here.
Thank you for being here, man.
Good to be here.
Well, a senior from, and if I don't get the pronunciation, I asked you earlier, and I think I had it down. You told me you grew up in a ranch outside of town, though. but Aguilares, Texas. Is that
That's
correct?
Right. Aguilares, that's right.
So I got the R's down. We got it all. Awesome, man. So from Aguilares, Texas, that's east of Laredo. How close is that to the border of Mexico, man? It's pretty close.
It's about 20 miles from the border of Mexico. Definitely a big culture change going from there to here, but adjusted well. And, I mean, it's been great.
Well, you're majoring in kinesiology, correct?
That's right.
So majoring in kinesiology. In 2017, the ASC All-Academic Team. The number that stood out to me out of everything, of course, the academics I always like to go over that. 6 siblings, man. Talk about
right.
your family. That's a pretty big family.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. It was a madhouse growing up. My parents had their hands full. They're definitely heroes for being able to do that. But I was smack in the middle of everybody, and yeah, I mean, there was never a dull moment. I mean, I got to see my older siblings go through things and learn things from them. I got to be an example for my younger siblings, but it was just a blast all the way through.
Well, I had some other questions here. I'm going to ask one that's not on my list. Your hair, man. Are you in those I can't believe it's not butter commercials? Is that you? Can you talk to us about the hair a little bit?
It was kind of my thing. When I graduated from high school, I wanted to just do something different. I had a buzz cut my whole life. So I just decided, you know what, I'm going to grow it out. And it's kind of been my thing as I've been in college football. Everybody always asks me about it and different things. I like to set myself apart a little bit, but yeah, it's been everybody always talks about it.
Awesome, man. Well, I think you may have a career in those butter commercials afterwards, so we'll see what happens, man. You know, when I was in high school, was it from a significant other? Did she tell you or anyone, or was it just you?
No, I felt like it was my own personal decision. I just decided, you know what, something new.
I did it in high school because I was dating a young lady then. And she goes, "Oh, your hair is beautiful and curly. Would you let it grow out?" And I did, and I didn't cut it my entire senior year, man. So
there you go.
I always dig the hair. As we continue to talk to Nick Smith, talk a little bit about growing up down in Southeast Texas near Laredo, and your journey here to Southwestern. I always like to hear that story.
Yeah, so I grew up on a ranch. Really, I mean, it was just me, my family. I had no neighbors or anything like that. I was outside pretty much all day. It's a cattle ranch, so I was always working. There's always something to be done, and I think that it really taught me like how to have a legitimate work ethic, and just to power through adversity and just to keep going. I mean, I have siblings that are always picking on me and doing some things, and but it was always just to keep on going, to keep working hard, and that's really what my parents taught me throughout. I mean, always hunting, always fishing, just having fun, being outside, just being active. That was really what I was about growing up. And
then going from there now to Southwestern, tell us a little bit about that journey. How did you end up here at Southwestern? And you've been here your entire collegiate career, correct?
That's right. So the journey was definitely tough in the beginning. I came from a school that I graduated with 30 other kids. I mean, it was tiny.
Wow.
So even though Southwestern is small among colleges around Texas and around the country, it was pretty big to me growing up or getting here. So it was definitely a shock. But I've really enjoyed it. It's been I really fell in love with the school from the first time I got here. And I mean, kinesiology, I plan to be a chiropractor, and that's like the professors that I've had, the mentors that I've had in school have really pushed me to be the best version of myself, and I'm really excited. I'm going to graduate and go to grad school after this.
Awesome, man. Well, this season, quite a few tackles. You've had a sack. Talk about your play a little bit so far this season through these early games.
I definitely feel like I'm on the come up. I had one really, really good game against Louisiana College. I've had a couple dings here and there that have kept me from really, I feel like, achieving my full potential. But as a defense as a whole, I think that we are better than we've ever been. We really work as a cohesive unit, and you can see it in the way that we play. Like we're very gap sound, and I'm really excited as the rest of the season goes on.
Well, just your thoughts from a player perspective. Looking back, one question about last week, your thoughts on that game and kind of your takeaways from it.
I definitely think it was tough. I mean, obviously it's tough for everybody to watch, but I think the moral of the story is just to keep on going. As I said earlier, I mean, with the past is the past, and you can't really do anything about that. So after a game like that, it's tough for everybody, but once you just take the next step forward and you just do what you can to be the best player that you can be and be the best team that you can be. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Well, tell us a little bit more about your role on the team. What's expected of you there on the defense?
I definitely feel as if I'm a leader on the defense just because a lot of guys look up to me. I'm older. I've gone through – I came in as a freshman The senior class that I came in when I came in was the biggest senior class because it was the freshman class when the team started. So I got to look at a lot of those guys and kind of model my play after some really, really hard-working players. I got to learn a lot from some of the older guys, but it's just been a journey. I mean, the coaches have taught me a lot, like Coach Ebo, Coach Ellis. They've really morphed me into the player that I am right now.
Well, being here since a freshman and now a senior, what have you seen over the years? What's been some of the biggest changes that you've seen on this team?
Definitely our defensive play. I mean, I guess logistically, we've changed a lot of our defensive scheme, and I think that's a testament to how Coach Kriesel has really been adaptive. He's been able to use the players that we have to achieve our goal, and I felt like in the beginning of our team we had some really standout defensive backs that could play man coverage, and now we have some really standout defensive linemen and linebackers, some younger DBs that really have some talent, and he's done a really, really good job in creating a defense that we can all utilize our skills, be gap sound, and achieve our goal, stop offense.
We'll talk about Sol Ross with Coach Austin in our final segment. Homecoming. How excited are you to play homecoming this season? Going to be a lot of fun, and you're going up against a team that's had some struggles this season. They were shut out 2 of their games to start, but what are you most excited about homecoming?
Really, really excited. Just I love looking up and seeing the crowd. My parents are my biggest supporters, so just seeing everybody up there cheering for us, I'm just really, really excited. I mean, all the week leading up to it, it's obviously everybody's asking, oh, it's the big game. I'm coming. This is the game that everybody's going to. So I'm really, really excited to just show them what we got, defense and offense. Just show them, yeah.
Well, you've touched a little bit about this. Kinesiology, your senior year, things will be here quicker than you know it, of
That's
course.
right.
So you got to enjoy every minute. Where do you want to be after college, man? What's your ideal job?
So I want to be a chiropractor. That's what I decided about last year. I came in as wanting to do PT and then switched over to chiropractic. Visited a school in Dallas, Parker University. Really, really loved it. I'm looking at another school in Georgia that actually they have a rugby team, and I'm really interested in that. As soon as I finish football, I feel like that'd be a good transition to play from a nice physical sport to another physical sport. But I'm really, really excited. Did an internship this summer with a chiropractor in Round Rock. Really, really enjoyed it. And I'm just really excited to see what the next year holds.
Now, if there were rugby pickup games in the area, would Coach Austin be happy if you were playing in those?
Probably not. I definitely I visited a few practices in Austin, but and they definitely wanted me to do a little bit more than I did. But I was like, yeah, you know what? It's my senior season. I've got a lot of people waiting for me to perform, so I don't really want to do that. But I'm excited to get onto it once football is over for me.
Awesome, man. Just the last couple of questions here. I like to ask this every week to every player. Now, what does it mean to you to be a Southwestern Pirate, Nick?
I think it means a lot more than being a football player. A lot of people know who we are walking around campus and walking around Georgetown and different things, and they really look at us as leaders in the community, and I think that is really, really important to all of us, and especially important to me. It's just important to represent everything that we've been taught, through our coaches. They've really, really told us that we need to be the best men that we can be, and really the purpose is for us to be one day the best fathers that we can be, the best businessmen that we can be, whatever we end up doing. And I think that's really important.
Awesome. Camera right here on you, straight ahead. Who you want to send a shout-out to tonight from Georgetown, Texas?
I'd like to send a shout-out to my mom. She's the best. Love you, Mom.
Oh, man. See, that'll get you the clap. Come on,
Yeah.
man. Awesome. Finally, if any butter commercials or I'm just kidding. We're not going to go there, man. But let's give it up one more time, Nick. Appreciate you being here, man. Awesome young man.
Thank you very much.
As always. Friends, stay with us as we have more interviews coming up. This is SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin. We'll continue in just a few moments. Well, welcome back to SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin. Friends, please welcome Devin Shaw, the senior fullback, as we interview Devin now. Appreciate you being here, man.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I interviewed you last year.
Yes, sir.
Time flies so quick. How's this year been for you, Devin?
This has been a great year. It's really fun, and I'm just taking in every second of senior season. So.
Awesome. Well, senior from Lone Oak, Texas, went to Lone Oak High School.
Yes, sir.
Majoring in education still, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Talk a little bit about that, man. What's that like?
So it was really fun. Last semester I did my student teaching because I'm going to be graduating this fall, and honestly I was really nervous about student teaching because I knew I wanted to be a coach and all this, but having to stand in front of a whole classroom of 11th graders who are like 6 years younger than you, that was tough, but I really got into it, and it was a lot of fun, and I realized, like, even if for some reason coaching never worked out, I could be a really good teacher, and I enjoyed every second of it.
Awesome. Well, a lot of accolades here for you, Devin. The ASC All-Academic Team in 2017, the Dean's List 2018, 2019. You've also been nominated and had the Director of Athletics Academics Excellence Award 2017-18. I'll give you a round of applause for that, man. I always like to bring that up.
Thank you.
I think that's important, especially where you're going as a teacher, man. So it's good to have those accolades. 2 siblings, right?
Yes, sir.
Talk to us about your family, man.
Oh, my family, I miss them every day. I think about them. I try to stay in contact with them. Probably call them a little more than I should. My dad is my biggest role model, and I call him anytime I ever have to cook anything just to make sure I can cook it as good as him. And my mom, she's a teacher, and so she's really like pushed me to be better, and really with my grades, she's helped me out, and she believes in me more than anybody, and I love having her support. My brother, now me and him are a year apart, and so you can just imagine 2 football players in a household and just competing with each other. But he made me the player I am today, and it's kind of funny. Go out on Saturdays. He was a lineman, and so being a fullback now versus running back in high school, I tell him every time before I go into the game, I'm like, I try to embody your personality so I could just go beat the guys ahead of me. And my sister, she's one of my best friends because I could tell her anything, and we're really close, and she's doing really big things right now, and so I try to stay in contact with it, but family's the best thing that's happened to me.
Awesome. So are you the middle child, the oldest, the youngest?
I'm the oldest child, yes, sir.
Awesome. So a lot of boxing matches going on in the Shaw household growing up, or not too many?
Oh, there were some boxing matches, yeah. Some of them with gloves and some of them without.
Okay, man. Think of all of us that have had siblings have all been there. I was the youngest in my family. My sister's 8 years apart, and so we didn't get along until after I got out of high school. So it's good that you guys are a little bit closer than that, man. One other question. You talked about cooking. What do you like to cook, man?
So I love cooking catfish. That's my favorite thing to cook.
There you
I
go.
can fry up some good catfish, and I'll cook a steak every week too. So I like a ribeye, and maybe some like mashed potatoes and macaroni to go with.
Awesome, man.
Yes,
Anytime
sir.
there's foods, I'll always ask the food question. I really envision as you're talking, 5-10 years down the road, you and Nick having a show on the Food Network, and he's out there saying, "I can't believe it's not butter," and then you frying up the catfish, man. I think it would be good, right?
Oh, yes, sir. We'd probably sell some catfish doing that.
Well, hey, talk a little bit about growing up just outside the area there in Lone Oak. That's outside of Houston, correct?
No, sir.
It's not?
Lone Oak's up there. It's about an hour northeast of Dallas.
Wow, I was way off,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Sorry
Yeah.
about that. We'll talk about growing up outside of Dallas, man.
Oh, I love it. All my teachers always told me, there's something, bigger besides Lone Oak, and you got to get away. And so I got to experience that coming here. And I love this area, but I will say I will be going back to Lone Oak just because I found out that's the area for me. It's a small town. We have 598 people in it. And so, but it's fun. Me and my friends, we'd always just hang out, and it kind of is really tight-knit community. Like my grandma, she graduated from Lone Oak, so did my dad. So I know basically everybody in town. A lot of tradition, and so it's always making the best of the situation. Whether we're going fishing, we're going to play football in the backyard, maybe just go drive around and hang out. There's always something to do, and people don't think that in small towns, but you got to make something. So it's a lot of memories built in with your friends there.
Well, speaking of memories, a lot of memories so far here at Southwestern. You're a senior now. Talk about that journey. What's it been like for you?
Oh, Southwestern, honestly, when I first came here, I didn't know if I'd last. It was a challenge for my first semester, but I wound up making some really good friends like Nick Smith, who freshman year we found out that we had a birthday a day apart. So we shared a birthday together with some friends, and Chris Dimney and those guys, and they helped me get through the first semester, and I realized that I could, make friendships here. And so I've made some good friends along the way, and they've helped me get through it. And football is the second biggest provider of getting me through Southwestern. Every season, you got to show out and push to be better, but I just love playing the game so much. And being a senior now, the guys that have stuck around and that I get to enjoy this game with makes it so much more worth it. Makes me want to go out every Saturday and play my heart out for those guys.
Awesome, man. Your leadership role now in the offense, talk a little bit about that from your fullback position.
So it's like I said, I wasn't used to blocking in high school, and so I come out here and I realize that our coaches do the best to find what you're good at, and they're going to use you in that way. And so it's all about playing your role. And so we needed a guy that could go out and go take on some blocks here and there, maybe get some carries for short yards. And I knew that was my job, and so I took it on and I kind of went with a full head of steam. I got the name the Chucker out of it, and so I love being called the Chucker, honestly. We have a package named after it now. But it's a lot of fun, and Coach Austin talks about, know your role, know what you have to do. And so if everybody on the team plays their role, we can – basically the sky's the limit. So just kind of being a good example for guys and the younger guys moving in. Like we have a younger fullback who came up, and we call him the Chucky now. And so just kind of like showing him kind of the ideas and the ways that the offense, he's going to fit perfectly right into it. He's honestly going to be better than me. He's going to be the Chucky senior before this season's over with. But
awesome, man.
It's fun.
Well, that's it. The camaraderie and just the culture and the team building, it's so important. You mentioned you're friends with Nick Smith, and, what a coincidence that you guys are. Was there something to do with that, with both of y'all coming tonight because of that?
Oh, no. We didn't even know that we were coming together. We didn't know who was going to show up, and I was glad I got to see him there. So.
Well, just one question about last week. Your thoughts on that game and some takeaways to improve on as we head into this week for homecoming.
Last week was by far the worst loss that I've experienced at Southwestern, just because it's against our rival. But with that being said, we got to figure out exactly who we were after the game. Like Coach Austin said, we had a good talk, and we were kind of getting a little ahead of ourselves, thinking we were just going to roll through TLU and move on. And we were planning on going to UMHB 5-0, which would have been great. But after the game, we realized, okay, there's some things we got to work on. We don't have all of our key players here, so what can we do? And this week I kind of seen it from a player's aspect. Everybody's coming together, trying to work together and figure out, like, okay, as we said, roles. So all these new guys are coming in. There's new packages with guys in them. But we're figuring out how we can make this a finely tuned engine, so that way when we go into Sul Ross, we can come out for a win and keep building from there. What
has been the most exciting part of this early season so far for you?
The most exciting part, let's see. I'd have to say Louisiana College was a lot of fun, because bouncing back after a loss to them last year and then just completely, annihilating them, that was a lot of fun. And it was a great team win, because defense did their job. They scored touchdowns as well. Offense capitalized on defensive turnovers, and so that was probably one of my favorite wins at Southwestern.
Homecoming this week. What's the preparation been like? Southwestern invented homecoming also.
Yeah.
What's the preparation been like?
The preparation, we treat it like it's just another game, honestly, because we got to stay level. We can't get too high during the week to where we overlook somebody just because we're playing on homecoming. Like I said, everybody's still trying to figure out how we're going to run, these new packages and everything. So just keeping everybody level-headed has been the big thing, and keep making sure that everybody's producing this week in practice.
You talked a lot about being a student teacher and education. An ideal job for you back at Lone Oak, maybe teaching in the school system there. What's your thoughts on that? Or where do you want to be?
That would be great. But I actually have a job offer, so it worked out perfectly. December after I graduate, I get to go, and I'll be working in Quitman, Texas with my old defense coordinator, who's now the head coach there. And so the plan is my little brother is going to be a coach as well, and he should be doing his student teaching there and then sign on. So me and him would be coaching together next fall, and that's kind of the dream job, is one day me be offensive coordinator and him be a defensive coordinator. And go
Awesome,
from there.
man. I'm going to give you a clap for that. That's awesome, man. You already got things lined up. That's so important. Last couple of questions as I ask, what does it mean to you to be a Southwestern University Pirate?
It means basically like just to represent our program. We're on one of the biggest platforms at the school, and we represent such a large group of the student body that we have to make sure that wherever we are, we're basically being men, like good young men, and representing the noble characteristics that we have. That way people in community, like, they love seeing us, and so we got to make sure that we give back to them as well.
Awesome. And then just to reiterate, the cooking show afterwards also with the coaching and all that, that's going to happen still?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to sell money making fish. That'd be nice.
Awesome, man. Well, the camera's right here on you. Who do you want to say hello to tonight?
I'd like to say hello to the zoo. That's the running backs. I'd like to say hello to TJ Vella, Hayden Smith, Craig Heiser. We played golf today. That was a lot of fun. My roommate, David Brandenburg, and my family watching back home. I love y'all. I miss y'all. Can't wait to see y'all this weekend.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate you, Devin Shaw, the senior fullback. Let's give him a round of applause. Thanks for being here, young man. Good luck coming up this weekend and the rest of the season.
Thank you so much.
We'll step aside for just a quick moment. This is SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin here on SHN Sports. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back to SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin. Everybody having a good time tonight? Food is always good. We appreciate the opportunity to be here. We'll quickly look back at some other athletic events going on around Southwestern University. Madison Goldberg named the Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference Women's Golfer of the Week for Week 4 after winning the Lady Crusader Fall Invitational, leading the number 22 ranked Southwestern University Pirates to their third consecutive first-place finish. The Pirates traveling now to Destin, Florida on October the 12th to compete in the Golf Week Fall Invitational. Congratulations, Madison. Keep that going. You know, every week we're talking about players across the board getting those weekly honors, and so we want to continue to honor those students. In the last home match of her collegiate career, senior Landry Brown came through with a season-high 12 kills to help push the Southwestern University Pirates volleyball team past Texas Lutheran University in 4 sets. With the win, the Pirates improved to 11-6 on the season, 4-1 in conference play, while Texas Lutheran University has dropped to 9-9 and 2-3. The Pirates traveling to Kerrville, Texas this weekend for conference matches against Austin College and JWU in Denver on Saturday and St. Thomas and Trinity on Sunday. One more item to go over. 3 Southwestern University Pirates remain alive in the A draw of the 2019 Intercollegiate Tennis Association Men's Regional Championships, with 1 singles and a double team headed to the final day of competition. In their first day of competition as a doubles pairing, Hunter Bajoy and Himanshu Rabunjan became the first duo in program history to advance to the ITA Regional A Doubles Championship match after feeding the number 1 overall seed from Trinity University, Jordan Pitts and Cameron Krimble. Congratulations to those guys. Great work. Of course, friends, for more information of what's going on around Southwestern University athletics, feel free to visit southwesternpirates.com. We'll quickly go over a lot of the sponsors here, making help. A lot of athletic events as far as broadcasting and sponsorship happen here at Southwestern University with the football program. Gary Brown, CPA, John F. Lewis, CPA, State Farm, Stephanie Featherstone, BBVA, First Texas Bank, R Bank, Texel Credit Union, Don Hewlett Chevrolet Buick, Antioch, Georgetown Church, Groove Line Productions, Boomtown Escapes, Primerica Financial Solutions, Upstream Investment Partners, Stansky's, Georgetown Shirt Company, HEB, Family Emergency Room, St. David's Georgetown, Eagles Wings, the Sheraton Austin Georgetown Hotel and Conference Center, Georgetown Palace Theater, Chisholm Trail Pediatrics, Minuteman Press, Waterboy Graphics, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Texas Realty, Roger Chappell making his 31st appearance. Hey, how was the cupcake last week? Roger, was it good? He's thumbs up back there. Appreciate you, Roger. We also want to thank Georgetown Commercial Properties, Turnip Seed Real Estate Group, Chick-fil-A, Double Dave's Pizza, Mama Foo's, Mighty Fine Burgers, Fries, and Shakes, The Monument Cafe, Rudy's, Sloshki's, Whataburger, CJ's Catering and CJ's Sports Bar, Wolf Ranch, Georgetown Title, Hello Georgetown, website Mojo, and the city of Georgetown. Can we give those a round of applause for all those wonderful sponsors? Thank you for your support of Southwestern University Pirate football. We'll step aside. Fourth segment coming up as we look ahead this week to homecoming. We'll be right back. This is SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin here on SHN Sports. Welcome back to the fourth and final segment of SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin. Please welcome Coach back up to the table with us. Thank you for being here, Coach, as always. I mean, you got to be here. It's SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin.
I guess I do.
So Coach has to be here.
That smattering of applause really was,
Well, Southwestern battles the Sul Ross Lobos at a homecoming for the third conference game of the season. Sul Ross 1-3 overall. They're 1-2 in ASC play. They lost at home to open the season versus Hardin Simmons 0-64, followed by another blowout shutout 0-72 at Texas A&M University Kingsville. They defeated McMurray 21-7 on the road and then lost last week 13-48 at home versus East Texas Baptist. Last season, the Pirates won on the road 55-7 versus Sul Ross. The Pirates have won all three meetings versus the Lobos beginning back in 2014. Sul Ross struggling this season, looking for a huge win versus Southwestern. Coach, an important game, of course, on Saturday to gain some momentum back in for the Pirates here in conference play. Your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, they played three really tough teams. We've never beaten Hardin Simmons, and we've never beaten East Texas Baptist, and we wouldn't beat Texas A&M Kingsville, a Division II team with 36 scholarships. So they've played a really tough schedule. The game they should have won against McMurray, they won. So they're not a bad football team based on their schedule. They're a young football team. 2 years ago, they came to our place, and they were ranked in the top 25, and they had a really senior-dominated team, and we knocked them off. We had a last-second field goal to win that game, and it was an emotional game the day after we lost a dear friend as a football program. And so they're growing, and we're in a position now where we thought we'd be stacked, especially on defense, and we're back to really being growing. But there's reason that there's guys like Nick Smith and Devin Shaw that are around our program and on our show is they're going to bring energy, and they're going to bring enthusiasm, and they're going to bring everything that they can, and we're going to try to be gritty, and we're going to try to be tough, and we're going to try to be physical. And if we do that, then we should have a really good chance.
Coach, some positions and players to keep an eye on for Sul Ross this weekend.
Well, I think it's you keep their eye on where they are. What they do is line up everywhere. They play a million different offensive formations. They change things every week. They line up in a million different defensive fronts, 4-1, 4-2, 4-3, 4-4. They play a bunch of different coverages. So I think one of their strategies is to be very multiple and be very difficult to predict. So offensively and defensively, that's what they try to do. And so the challenge for us, especially with new quarterbacks and potentially three freshman defensive backs, is to know where they're going to be and just be able to line up and be sound. So they're going to get to see some pretty basic stuff because that's in a lot of ways where we are. But we can be very physical and very aggressive being a basic football team, and that's what we're going to have to be this Saturday.
I ask you every week, practices this week. You've talked about some of the health. Maybe reiterate some of that again. And as far as practices, how have those been this week, Coach?
Well, we could do another segment where we bring Dr. Benavides back up to go through the injury report, but it'd make it an hour and a half show probably.
Get a sponsor for that.
we need to get Family Emergency Room is one of our sponsors.
There we go.
The sponsor for the injury report segment. It's not getting any easier. We've lost more starters for the year. We've got some folks that hopefully We're out on Wednesday. Like I said, the end of practice Wednesday, we were down 11 starters. I think we can get back to where we're down 8 maybe for the game, and we would probably think we're pretty fortunate to be down 8. It's probably going to be 9, but hopefully we can get to be 8. And we'll just push, and we'll do everything that we can. We've got, as Nick Smith said, our defensive line, Nick Smith and Garrett Womack are going to have to make plays. They're our biggest playmakers. We've got some really solid linebackers behind them, like Hayden Smith and Chris Crawford, that are going to make plays as well. But we're going to try to be disruptive with our defensive line for the rest of the season. And as Devin Shaw said, we're all hands on deck. I mean, we put in some different offensive packages because we're down some players. We're going to try to do whatever we can. We're also trying to salvage our junior varsity season. We had to cancel our junior varsity game for Monday because we couldn't field a full team based on injuries. That's not a good situation, so we're scrambling to move players around so that we can play a junior varsity schedule. So life moves fast, and I talked to the players about that, and things can change quickly. We don't have the team that we thought that we'd have, and no one feels bad for us. Saul Ross looked at our 2 deep and certainly didn't feel bad for us. They saw that this guy's gone and that guy's gone and this guy's not even on the team and that guy's injured, and they're thinking that they played a tough schedule and they're going to be energized. So we need to be equally energetic and be opportunistic. We talked about in the first segment that when young players play, they get better every day, and I think we'll make some hay. You mentioned also talking about practice. We have had a much better week of practice. Last week was difficult. And on the show last week, I said I wouldn't call it a bad week. Well, I was wrong. I was wishful thinking. It was a bad week of preparation that got worse on Friday, and we played the way we prepared. But we're definitely in a better situation with how we've prepared so far. I think it's been a lighter week as far as tests and papers. I think last week was really difficult. Not an excuse, but we didn't do a good job handling that, and it caught up to us on Saturday. But I think our guys, as Nick and Devin talked about, our guys are ready for the task. They know what's going on. They know who we're missing. They know who has to step up, and they know that the players that we have, especially our seniors, like the guys that were on the show and our other seniors, are going to have to play really big roles.
Coach, keys to victory.
Well, we're going to try to be not losing any more players. That's going to be one big key. We've made this week so much, and it's not a knock on Saul Ross. We're at a point where we can't worry a lot about our opponent. When your top 2 quarterbacks are true freshmen, you can't be reliant on scheme. You're not going to draw stuff up and put in a special game plan and say this play works against this defense. And last year we played these guys, and they lined up a million different fronts. Our quarterback checked their pass protection every pass. So it was right against what they lined up in. We just aren't going to do that this year. We can't do that this year. And so we're going to be placing the emphasis on being physical and being fast and being aggressive. So I think what you're going to see this Saturday is if we are doing those things, we're going to cause success on offense, defense, and special teams. If we're not physical, if we're not aggressive, if we're not ready to play, then they're going to give us a really big challenge.
Coach, homecoming, of course, we always like to brag because it's the truth. Southwestern invented homecoming, and it happens all over the state of Texas. And when I first heard that –
not just Texas.
Yeah, and everywhere now. And my jaw dropped, and I said, no way that right here in Georgetown something like that was invented that is so awesome. I always want to ask you about that. Talk about homecoming, how special it is, and really just the history and how special it is to Southwestern.
Well, it's a big deal to us, and there's so many things that go on homecoming. There's things that can be distractions. There's things that can take it away. So we talked about right away on Sunday that homecoming is a huge deal, and we have one thing to do, and that is to win the homecoming game. People are going to come to the game. They come back. Some people just because of the game. Some people it's a part of what they come back for. So many people have said to me, when I went here, we didn't have a homecoming football game. It's so great that we have one now. I'm going to be there. We feel an obligation to do our part of it. And so that's all we're focused in on. The other events and things, they're fantastic. But we're just dialed in on the things that we need to do and our role within the festivities, because it's certainly a much better Saturday night of all the reunions and all the parties and all the gatherings if the game at 1 o'clock goes well than if it doesn't. And so that's the only thing that we're focused in on is our small part of the whole event.
It's a special event for all the fans, so make sure you come out to Birkelbach, 1 p.m. kickoff. Get there early. A lot of tailgating goes on at these games, too. I think that's so neat to drive out there and see the Southwestern tailgates.
Yeah, and the homecoming tailgate is outstanding. If you haven't tailgated with us and you're going to be around, you're going to really see a really fun college football environment.
Coach, another subject that's very near and dear to many folks. Also, this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The team is going to be allowed to wear pink accessories at this game, even though it's all month. I know this game has been designated that game. Can you tell us a little bit about that and just how much that means to these kids and in the community and the university to be able to participate in that?
Certainly. It's something that's been one of the major causes of college football. So throughout the month, when you're watching games on TV, you're going to see teams take opportunities to accessorize within the rules for cancer awareness in general, but breast cancer awareness specifically. And it was something that was very particularly important to one of our players that has already graduated, who wanted to make sure that our team, based on things he'd experienced in his life, had a chance to be a part of that. So we have made our first home game in October, wherever it falls. This year it's coincidentally homecoming. First time it's been both, where our team can, within the rules, accessorize with wristbands and spat tape to show their support. If that's something that's important to them, you won't see all of our guys do it. But for folks where that's an important cause to them, within the rules and within not being a distraction to the game and the team, you'll see our players have the opportunity to support that.
Well, Coach, 150 years of college football this year. It's amazing to think about all of the stories, the legacies, and then with Southwestern, the program coming back alive. Just talk briefly about what that's been like to you to be a head football coach. I haven't mentioned that. I wanted to wait until the homecoming game, but 150 years of college football. Now, of course, you haven't been coaching for 150 years, but what has that been
Only
like
20.
for you?
Well, ESPN did a really good special on 150 years of college football. I'm a college football historian. In fact, I speak about this. I've gone out and people have invited me. I lecture about it in my football coaching class about the history of college football. And they got it quite a bit wrong, but they got a lot of it right. But it's really a unique history about America's game. And, of course, I can't get into it now, but it's such a unique American story that if people understand the evolution of football and the politics and the espionage and all the different things and the human stories that went into its formation. It's really a unique thing, and of course, you could say the same thing about basketball and Dr. Naismith inventing that. But football's evolution has been really remarkable. It's truly an American story, and so it's kind of a cool thing. So to be in the 150th year of college football, the 100th year of the NFL, it's kind of a great, I guess, piece of time to be in. I'm not going to be coaching in year 200. I will guarantee that. Even if I were able to, you won't see me around there then. But it's a really unique time, and it's great to be a part of it. And I really relish my role to be a little bit of a football historian and to be able to share that. And I've developed some different lectures about the development of the game and the history of the game. I kind of look at it from the perspective of some of the things that are behind the scenes. What you see on the NCAA website, for example, their story of how they were founded is a little different than other accounts you're going to find and why they were founded and what the goals were. So it's just an awesome story about how the NCAA was formed, and it's all around football. Just a really cool thing. Coach,
as I ask every week, final thoughts before we sign off today.
Well, we're relying on who we have, right? You're going to see the folks calling the game are going to call some new names because that's where we are. We're playing a lot of young players. Of course, the folks that have followed our program, that's not new to us. I think Nick talked about how well our coaches, Nick Smith, talked about how well our coaches have done. Every week we're changing our schemes to fit the guys we have. It's a challenge, but we'll continue to do it. And we still have the opportunity to have a fantastic season ahead of us. And a setback against Texas Lutheran is a one-week thing. I feel like our players have approached the week feeling that they have a lot to prove. I feel that we have a lot to prove. And I think we're going to do everything we can to go prove that this Saturday for homecoming.
Awesome. Well, Coach, we're very excited about the game. Of course, 1 p.m. kickoff. We'll have the game live video, shnsports.com/football. You can also go to shnsports.com/SCU and be able to pick up that stream very easily, a video stream for those of you that are out of the area, can't make it to the game. Again, encouraging you, homecoming, something very special here in Georgetown, Texas, and looking forward to it. As always, we want to thank Dr. Munt, all of the wonderful Southwestern University staff, you, Coach Austin, also Dr. Benavides. Thank you for joining us as well again here for these coaches shows. For Mickey Holt and Nathan Hyde, I'm Rob Hipp, reminding you tonight we're not strong enough alone to make it on our own. We need each other. Provide a word of encouragement. Lend a hand of support. Come out and support your Pirates on Saturday. We'll see you next time, friends.
Hi, Mom.